guys, welcome to Photoshop retouching and restoration tutorial. This lesson focuses on techniques to enhance and restore photos, including removing blemishes, using dodge and burn techniques, and restoring old photos. So we're going to dive into all of these things. So first of all, we're going to start with removing blemishes and imperfections. So if you look at this now, I've imported this photo, a random photo of a lady with blemishes on her face. We're going to work on restoring this lady's face to look good, right? So for this, we're going to use three tools. Number one is the spot healing brush tool, and the number two is the healing brush tool. Number three is the clone stamp tool. So first is the spot healing brush tool. This tool automatically samples surrounding pixels to remove blemishes. So let me show you how that works. So if you zoom in, you can select this tool to start working with it. All you have to do is to now observe that this is a brush, right? So the same the technique of reducing and increasing the size of the brush still works here. So the left bracket key reduces the size of the brush, and the right bracket key increases the size of the brush. Now we want to start removing the blemishes. This is very simple. All you have to do is to find the blemish and reduce the size of the brush to fit into it, and then you can click on it. It automatically and intelligently removes that blemish from there. So let me say we pick this one, right? And then you click on it, see what it does. So it kind of samples the pixels, the surrounding pixels, to remove blemishes and all that. So you can observe, if you look at here, there is kind of a sharp edge around here. So going back to this tool, what we can do is to, of course, shift and left bracket key to reduce the hardness of the brush, then reduce the size also. Now you might be wondering why I'm not removing these spots, right? Now let me just say that when you are editing images and retouching images, be careful not to remove the important details that make the person who they are. Now these spots don't look like pimple to me. They look like things that were there from the lady's childhood or something like that. So you don't want to remove all those things. While it's going to be easy to remove, but you don't. So let me say I want to remove it. Just click on it once and it's gone. So but we don't want to remove that. I want to leave the details that make the person who they are. So that's how this works. So you click on the blemishes you want and they are removed by sampling images of the surrounding areas. And the second tool we are going to use to retouch this image is going to be the healing brush tool. This is the healing brush tool here. So in this case, you have to manually select the pixel, or rather the source area, to blend with the target. So you have to manually select the source area to blend with the target. So in this case, I want to adjust how this place looks. So I can actually click on the tool. Of course, I will start using J from now to pick it. So you can hold Alt, click on the sample on the source area, and then start clicking on the place you want. So click on it and then pick the source again, click here, then you can pick this as a source, then remove your hand from Alt and click, then pick this place as a source. You can see how it's making the image better. So something I didn't do before starting this was to duplicate my image. So I'm going to undo everything I've done and then duplicate the image to start. So we can now say Ctrl J. Now observe that I have another image down here. Now this image is the image we want to use to work on old photo retouching, right? So we're going to hide it for now. Hide these two. I'm going to turn this one on. So this is the one I'm working on. We will be able to see before and after when we are done. So to be able to work on this image, we are going to be using three tools. Number one is the spot healing brush tool. You can get to it by coming here on the toolbar and clicking it right here, or you can press J on your keyboard to go to it. Now the spot healing brush tool automatically samples surrounding pixels to remove blemishes. So if you want to remove a blemish from here, it will just sample the pixels around it and use it to replace whatever you have where you clicked. We'll look into all of that in a jiffy. Then the second tool we are going to use is going to be the healing brush tool. Now this healing brush tool, which is the second tool here, the healing brush tool manually samples a source area to blend with the target. In the case of the spot healing tool, it just automatically samples the image, the surrounding pixels around the area you clicked. But in this case, you can manually select the area you want and use it to replace, and blend the other area, the target area. So the third tool we're going to be using will be the clone stamp tool. You can get to it by clicking it on the toolbar or by pressing S on your keyboard. Now the clone stamp tool copies exact pixels from the source to the target area. Just like the other tools, but slightly different, it collects pixels from one area and copies it exactly the same way it is to the other place. Now the other two tools we looked at, the spot healing brush tool and the healing brush tool, tries to blend it, okay, to make the area blend with the other part. But this one doesn't do that. This one copies the exact pixels right from where you picked it the same way and puts it on the target area. So let's get started with retouching this, and you'll see all these tools in action. So first of all, I've already duplicated my image to be able to observe what we are doing. Okay. Then the first tool we are going to use is the spot healing tool. So how does it work? First of all, select the spot healing tool right here, and then we're going to zoom into the image. We will start clicking the points over blemishes or imperfections, and that is as simple as that. So you can zoom in and start clicking over points where there are blemishes and imperfections in this image, and the spot healing tool will start working on it and removing them. So as you can see, I'm going to reduce the size by clicking the left bracket key, because it's just a brush, right? So left bracket key to reduce the size and right bracket key to increase the size. Of course, you can click shift, okay, to reduce the hardness, shift and left bracket key to reduce hardness, or come here and do it. So I'm going to reduce it, put it to 0, and then you can look up here to see some parameters. Make sure it's in content aware. Of course, all of them can work, but let's start with content aware. So you just start clicking the areas that you want to remove, and it will start removing it for you. As you can see, it's already making changes to the image. Now I want to make it bigger because the blemish here seems a bit bigger. So like that, right? Now to show you the difference, what we are doing is making, you can come here and, you can come and turn this off. You can turn this on and then turn this one off. Then you can see the difference we are making, right? However, while we can keep doing this and all that, there are better tools to make this better. So I'm just going to pick specific blemishes with this. That's how I work with it. So I use this to remove very obvious and distinct blemishes on the face. So when you zoom in, there are blemishes that you see already that you don't need to, that doesn't mix up too much with the body. So I'm just going to use that tool, for example, this one, and click it once. See, it's gone, right? Then I'm going to come to this one and click it too. Okay. So all these ones that are very obvious that you do not need someone to show you. So I'm going to just remove them. Okay. We can keep doing this, all that, but there are better tools for this like we're going to look at. So I'm going to stop for now. If I need to get back to this tool, I will. So but for the next tool, which is going to be the healing brush tool, first of all, you select the healing brush tool right from here, and then you have to hold Alt if you're on Windows or Option on the Mac, then click to sample a clean area of your image. So you first of all have to sample the area. Remember, in this case, you have to manually select the area you want to use as your source. Then you can, after you are done selecting with Alt or Option on the Mac, then you can now remove your hand from Alt or Option and then begin to paint over the imperfection to blend it seamlessly, right? So in this case, we have a lot of blemishes here, but I think this place is pretty cool, right? It's a pretty cool spot on the face. So I can just hit J, since I've already switched to this tool here. So healing brush tool, hold Alt on my keyboard, is going to turn to this. So I'm going to now click this once, then let go of Alt, and then come here and click this or paint over this area to see the effect. So like this, click this and click this once. Click, click, hold Alt, click, and then click here. Hold Alt, click, click here. Just like that. Hold Alt and pick source. So you pick source, you remove your hand from Alt, you click on the other area, pick the other area which is now good as the source, and then click the new area where you want to, blend. Then just like that, you can do this until the image looks good. As you can see, we're already getting something good with this. So I'm just picking areas. Now you should be careful not to pick two areas that are too far. That is why if you observe, I started from here and I'm blending it in, right? I can't pick this area and come and use it to paint here. It's not going to look so good, right? So keep blending it in, right, so that the whole image looks good still. So if I want to work on this area, I would rather start from here and blend it in instead of just trying to pick any area I feel is fine or beautiful. Like here, I'm coming to use it to paint here. The lighting might not be the same. Okay, so let me just keep working on this and let's see how it goes. So that is how it works. Now if you turn on this one underneath it and then turn this off, you see the difference we have made in the image already. So we've made a lot of progress and all that. So we can continue doing this as we will, right? So I'm going to work on this image through and through. So but then I'm going to show you the next tool that we can use. The next tool is going to be the clone stamp tool, which is this tool right here, and we can also use S to get to it. So like I said, the clone stamp tool just clones a part of the image exactly the same way it is and puts on the other part. So how do you use it? You select the clone stamp tool, hold Alt on the Windows or Option on the Mac, and click on the sample area and then paint over the area requiring cloning. So just the same way you use the healing brush tool, that's how you use the clone stamp tool. So if I want to, let me do something crazy, right? Just to show you what I'm saying. I want to clone the eye and put another eye here. That is what, now you have to increase the size of the brush, hold Alt and click on the eye, come over here and click. And now you have two eyes. See, it didn't try to blend anything. It just carried this, this looks a little bit creepy. so you just carry the eye exactly the same way it is and put it on the other part, right? This is awesome. I'm going to press undo to undo that. But how can we use it on this particular image? Well, it's good you know what it does so you can know where to use it and where not to use it. So I'm just going to try and use it here to see if it works. If it doesn't, I'm going to undo it. So here I'm going to pick this part and use it to replace this other part. So press Alt and click here, then come over here and click once. As you can see, replaced it without any form of blending. So let me do that for here and here also. So that is what we've seen. So we're not going to use it much for this image because it doesn't really look so awesome on it. So I'm going to go back to spot healing tool and spot healing brush tool, because these are the two tools we will use majorly in this image and all of that. So I'm going to start working on this and I will do it a bit before I speed it up, so you can have your time to master it and see how it works. So I'm going to do it all through the lady's face until it becomes so good. So let's get started. So here it is. Just reduce the size again, right, by clicking the left or right bracket key, increase or reduce it. I'm going to press Alt. So rather, let me go back to the healing brush tool. So hold Alt, pick this and click. I'm going to be a bit fast. So all I'm doing is picking. As you can see, my mouse is moving, my cursor is moving left, right, up, down, up, down. All I'm doing is hold Alt, pick a point, and then move to a new area that is very close to where I picked, and that I picked as my source, and then click on it, and it will just replace it, blend it in. So like that. So you can make mistakes. You can press undo to undo that. That's also why it's good to always duplicate your image case you make a mistake. As you can see, I started from here instead of from here, so both of them can blend together, right? Because this place has a lighter, um is lighter than here, right? So I have to start from here and all of that. Now look at what we have so far. So good, right? We're working on this image to make sure it looks good. Well, it's not yet there, but it's progress. So let's continue. All right, guys, look at what we've done here. We've been able to clean the lady's face to look much better, remove the blemishes and all of those. And you can take your time to make this thing look more better, to make them blend better, right? So here are some of the best practices you can implement. Try to use multiple tools, like combined tools, for optimal results. Like you saw me using the two tools. First of all, I used um, the sports healing brush. If I use the healing brush, and then you can also zoom in and all of that. To maintain the texture, you must ensure to retouch areas that match the surrounding texture, right? These are the things that I mentioned while I was working on it. So the next thing we're going to do to work on this image will be to dodge and to burn. We're going to use the dodge and the burn tool. So to dodge simply means to lighten specific areas of an image. Maybe a place that is a bit dark, you want to lighten it. Then to burn means to darken specific areas of your image. The point of all of this is to enhance highlights and shadows and add depth to the dimension. So one way we can do this is to use the dodge tool. You can get to the dodge tool by pressing O on the keyboard or coming to your toolbar and selecting it here. So when you select the dodge tool, you can choose the target, whether you want to target the shadow, the mid-tone, or the highlight in the option bar. So that is here. So you choose it here. Do you want to adjust the shadow? Do you want to adjust the mid-tone or the highlight? So let me say I choose the mid-tone now. The next thing will be to adjust the exposure and the brush setting. Then you paint over the area to lighten them. So this is the exposure. Now if I begin to paint now, you're going to see it's going to lighten it so much, right? I'm going to press undo and then reduce the exposure to 50%, right? And then begin to paint over the areas I want. And this is touching the mid-tone particularly now. I'm going to press undo for that. So that is how it works. So if there are areas you want to lighten more, you can just paint over it. For example, this image, let me go back to O and touch the highlights. I think we need to touch the highlights of this image. So we have some areas that had strong highlights here, right? We need to bring them back. Some of them were lost during the editing. Okay, so you go back to O, then select highlight here, and of course 50%. Then reduce the size of your brush, left bracket key to reduce that. then you begin to paint over this place. Now this is much now, right? So I'm going to press undo, and then reduce your exposure again. So let's say 25. Yeah, 25. Then paint over it one more time. Right. This looks better than what we had before. I'm going to reduce this, click here, and to just add highlight in some of these places. Yeah, for example, the eye too, you can add to make the eye a bit sharper. Right. So if there's another place in your image you think needs a highlight, you can add them. Just be careful not to be careful to add the right proportion where you have to add it. Right. Okay. Okay. So to use the bond tool, you still get to it with O. However, you have to now click in and select the bond tool here. Now, after you select the bond tool, choose the target in the option bar, whether you want to touch the bond. In this case, let's touch the shadows because we're talking about bond here, right? Then you can adjust the exposure to look like you want. But let's leave it at 50 and paint and see what we have. You can always adjust these things when we have to. So now, as you can see, the hairs are getting darker. Right. Hairs are getting darker. That is what it is for. For example, this area was a bit dark. So let's add it here. Let's just add a little darkness here. Right. And that's basically it. Just adds more depth to it. So these areas that are supposed to be dark, like the eye and the nostrils, reduce this and paint over it. Right. Over here. You're giving more definition to your image. So the dark areas are going to be dark. Right. This is after, this is before. Right. That is how the bond tool works. Now, I'm going to teach you something special, what I call non-destructive dodge and burn. For instance, now, apart from the fact that we have this image underneath, we've lost our image, right? Because this is not how it looked like before. But if you want to apply dodge and burn without having to destroy the image, let me show you how to do that. First of all, create a new layer above an empty layer by clicking here above the image you want to select. Then go to edit and fill, right? And fill it with 50% gray and press OK. Right. This is what you're going to see. Then switch the blending mode to overlay, right, this way. And then select the brush tool, go to the brush tool, and then make sure the foreground color is white. Now the foreground color is going to be set to white, that is for dodging, and then the background color will be set to black for burning. Okay, then you begin to paint over the area of the image, and you want to apply dodge and burn effect non-destructively. So let me say I want to apply dodge effect. Remember, white is for dodge and black is for burn. So if I paint over this image, notice I'm not painting directly on my image, I'm painting on this layer. If I paint over here, you can see it's adding the burn to it, right? And I mean the dodge to it. That is quite bright. Of course, you can adjust it by reducing the opacity here of the layer and all of those. So that is how it works. And if you want to apply the burn, you can press X on your keyboard to switch this to black like this, and then you paint over it, and then you have it also. It's burning over it, but it is not affecting the image originally. So that is why if you press X again and paint over here and it's light, you can simply turn this off and on, and the image underneath is unaffected. That is how you do that. I'm going to turn this off. So what can you do to get the best result out of this? First of all, you must use low exposure. Now this will prevent you from over editing by using low exposure settings. So if you use low exposure settings, you will not be overdoing, right? That way you can easily, let's say you're using 20% exposure for this the dodge tool, right? 25% exposure like we used the last time, and you paint over it, right? You paint over it and it's not enough. You can as well come paint again, making it 50, paint again, making it 75, then before you get to 100. But if you leave it at 100, just paint once and you've destroyed your image. So that is why you must keep the exposure low. Then secondly, use soft brush. Like here, make sure the hardness of your brush rather here is at 0, right? Use soft brushes for your work. Then focus on natural enhancements, right? That's subtle adjustments to enhance realism. Like you saw me, I wasn't trying to apply too much of everything until the image begins to look very weird, right? So try to maintain the natural light. So this is where the light was before, and notice that was still where they added our own lighting. This is where the darkness was, and that's also where we added our own burn. Next, we are going to start talking about restoring old photos. Now I'm going to turn this off and this off, and then turn this on, because that's what we want to work on right now. And this looks as bad as can be. To be able to restore this image, first of all, what are the challenges in restoring old photos? First of all, the common issue is going to be scratches, right? Dust, tears, fading, discoloration, and all of this. Now, this particular image has all of this. So there is tears, there is dust, there is everything, right? So our challenge is, our goal will be to remove the imperfections, restore the original color and contrast, and even preserve details, right? So how are we going to do it? First of all, add your image like I've added mine. Then you will start with removing the scratches. But before that, I want to duplicate the image. So Ctrl J to duplicate the image. Then select the one on top and begin to work. So using the spot healing tool, of course, we're going to use these tools we've used before. So the spot healing tool here will try to remove the scratches and the dust. So these are scratches here, as you can see. So here, right. So let me switch this to content aware. Ctrl Z, content aware here. Then start clicking on it. As you can see, as I'm clicking on it, it's kind of going away little by little, right? This is a black and white image, so you might not be able to see much, but then you will see the difference when we turn on, when we turn this layer off and turn on the layer beneath it. So this is it. Okay, so trying to restore this very old image. Let me just show you. As you can see, some of the scratches are going away. Okay, so the next thing we want to do will be to start removing some of the larger tears and missing areas. Okay, so for example, here now you have some large stuff here in the leaves and in the body too. So we want to start removing those things. This is a perfect place to use the clone stamp tool and the content aware tool also. So let's use clone stamp for this. Select the clone stamp. I'm going to pick this area and then click on this, right? I just want to clone those areas exactly the same way they are and put them on the other areas, right? You see, they look good like that. So I'm not going to do this for the whole part of this image. I'm just going to do what we can do in this tutorial. Maybe I will devote a full tutorial to a full video to restoring old images. As you can see, we're already doing some good work here. I'm using the clone here. Hold Alt and click, and I will put the same thing that was here on the target location, just like that. so far so good. This is what we had before. This is what we have now. So we can continue doing this all through this image to restore it. But let's focus on the head and the face and get it done with. Okay, so far so good. We've gotten this from here to here. The next thing we want to do is to restore the colors. So before restoring the colors, what we can do is to add contrast to it. So I'm going to increase the contrast of the image and clip it into it as increase the contrast of the image to give it more depth and make it more alive, right? So this is before and this is after, right? And then we have to now add the color balance. So get the color balance and add it here. Now start increasing some parts of the image of the colors to restore those colors to the image. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Then go to the shadows. Then increase the blue in the shadows. Right. The blue. Then the magenta, just like this. Then come to the highlights and add a little more of this to it. Okay. And the mid-tone again. Yeah. So this is before and this is after. Before, after, before, after. So we've done a great job working on this image, right? Is getting it from where it was. Now imagine we work on all these parts of the image like we did on the hair and these areas of the face, and then apply the same thing on it. Would have restored the image reasonably. And then something else you can do would be to add the sharpen effect. So what you can do is to sharpen this image. Come to filter and sharpen, and then say smart sharpen. Then you can now adjust it here to look like what you want. So you can reduce the amount to make it look good, depending on your image, how blurry your image is and all. So you can turn this off and on. Okay, so we've made this a little sharper, and that is that. So what we can do is to now begin to remove the remaining imperfections in our image. For example, these areas, right, that are left to be touched, we can now begin to touch them. Remember, we are focusing on the face, so we can go back to our healing brush, then hold Alt, and then keep on working on this like so. So we have transformed this image from this to this. Now, is that not awesome? Is that not beautiful? So in this lesson, we've covered essential photo retouching and restoration techniques, including removing blemishes and imperfections, applying dodge and burn techniques for depth, and restoring old photos. These skills are invaluable for enhancing and preserving images, whether for personal projects or for professional work. So you can go ahead and start applying them in your work. If at this point you've not subscribed to this channel, click the like button and click the subscribe button. Also hit the bell icon to be notified when next I post a video. Remember, we are on Photoshop full course from beginner to advanced. We are on the intermediate level right now, and after this we are getting on to more advanced stuff. And this is all for you to encourage us to keep doing what we are doing. Subscribe and hit the bell icon. I will see you in my next video.